Grandpa Ned had survived D-Day, 3 marriages, the disco era, and even his daughter's experimental vegan phase in the 90s. At 78 years old, he thought nothing could rattle him anymore. He was wrong. The phone rang at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. That specific time would haunt him later, while he was in his garage workshop, elbow-deep in restoring a 1967 Mustang that had more rust than metal. His grandson Tyler had set up his cell phone with that obnoxiously loud ringtone, something about making sure he wouldn't miss important calls. Ned wiped his grease-stained hands on his coveralls and squinted at the screen through his reading glasses. First National Bank, his son Marcus's bank. Ned Morrison speaking, he answered, his voice still carrying that authoritative bark from his years as a construction foreman. Mr. Morrison, this is Sandra from First National Bank, Fraud Prevention Department. I'm calling about some unusual activity we've detected on your son's account. Ned's stomach dropped. Marcus and his wife Jennifer were supposed to be celebrating their 10th anniversary. Jennifer had left 3 days ago for a business conference in Seattle, some big pharmaceutical thing, and Marcus was supposed to fly out tomorrow to meet her for a romantic weekend. What kind of unusual activity? Ned asked, already walking toward his truck, though he didn't know why yet. There was a pause, the kind of pause that comes before bad news. Sir, we have your daughter-in-law here at our downtown branch. She's attempting to make a rather large withdrawal and she's with a man who looks remarkably similar to your son, but according to our records and the information she provided, her husband is supposed to be at work right now. We are following protocol for suspicious transactions, and frankly, something doesn't feel right. Ned felt his chest tighten. Jennifer is in Seattle, has been since Saturday. Another pause. Sir, I'm looking at her right now. She's definitely here, and this gentleman with her has his arm around her waist in a way that seems familiar. The 20-minute drive to downtown took Ned 12 minutes. He may have been pushing 80, but his old F-150 still had some life in it, and apparently so did his lead foot. His mind raced faster than his truck. Jennifer, the woman who'd nursed Marcus through his appendectomy, who'd helped Ned plant roses on his late wife's grave, who made the best damn apple pie this side of the Mississippi, that Jennifer cheating, it didn't compute. But then again, neither did his second wife running off with a yoga instructor named Moonbeam, and that had happened. The bank's marble floors clicked under his work boots as he strode in, probably leaving grease stains and certainly leaving impressions. Sandra turned out to be a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who met him at the door like she'd been expecting him. They're in conference room B, she whispered, gesturing down a hallway. I told them we needed to verify some information before processing the withdrawal. Mr. Morrison, I should warn you. But Ned was already moving. The military had taught him that sometimes you need to see the battlefield with your own eyes before you can strategize. He pushed open the conference room door without knocking. Jennifer sat in a chair, and she was definitely not in Seattle. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore jeans and a sweater, casual clothes, not business attire. Next to her, with his hand resting possessively on her shoulder, sat a man who could have been Marcus's twin. Same height, same build, same slightly crooked nose that Marcus had gotten playing high school football. But this man's eyes were different, harder somehow, calculating. Jennifer's face went white. Ned, what are you? Seattle, huh? Ned's voice could have cut glass. Hell of a business conference they're running right here in town. The man stood up, and Ned noticed the small differences now. This guy was maybe an inch taller, his hair a shade darker, his jaw not quite as square. But in passing, in photographs, maybe even in person, if you weren't looking too closely, yeah, you could mistake him for Marcus. Mr. Morrison, the man said smoothly, extending his hand. I'm not shaking your hand until I know what the hell is going on here. Ned turned to Jennifer. Where's Marcus? Does he know you're here? Does he know about? He gestured at the imposter. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, but Ned had seen crocodile tears before. His third wife had been an expert. He waited. It's not what you think, she started, which was what everyone said when it was exactly what you thought. Then explain it to me, small words. I'm just a simple old man who builds things and fixes cars. The imposter, because that's what he was, stepped forward. Look, this is between Jennifer and Marcus. You should sit down. Ned's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet that had once made construction crews snap to attention. Boy, I don't know who you are or what game you're playing, but that's my son's wife, my son's bank account, and my son's life you're messing with. So you'll sit there, keep your mouth shut, and let the lady explain, or I'll call the police right now and we can sort this out with them. Sandra, still hovering by the door, held up her phone. Already dialed 911, Mr. Morrison, just need to hit that last one. Jennifer collapsed back into her chair. His name is Derek. He's Marcus's half-brother. The room tilted. Ned grabbed the back of a chair. Say that again. Your son from your first marriage, Jennifer continued, her voice shaking now, from before you married Marcus's mother. Derek found me 6 months ago. He'd been looking for his father, for you, for years. He showed me the birth certificate, the DNA test he'd done on one of those ancestry websites. He's your son, Ned. Ned's first marriage had been brief, intense, and had ended badly when he'd shipped out to Vietnam. Angela had sent him a Dear John letter while he was overseas. He'd come home to find her gone, moved to California with some other guy. They'd never had kids, at least, that's what he'd thought. DNA test, Ned heard himself say. Derek pulled out his phone, brought up a document, and handed it to Ned. The words swam in front of his eyes. Probability of paternity, 99.97%. Sample collected from public genealogy database. You used my DNA without my knowledge. You put it in a public database, Derek said, but his confidence was wavering now. I never took any damn DNA test. Marcus did, Jennifer said quietly. 3 years ago, you remember he was curious about his ancestry. The results are linked to you. That's how Derek found us. The pieces were falling into place, but the picture they made was ugly. So you've been meeting my son's half-brother behind his back for 6 months. Derek needed family, Jennifer said, and now she was crying for real. He had a rough childhood, foster homes, bouncing around. When he found out about Marcus, about you, he just wanted to connect. But he was afraid you'd reject him, afraid Marcus would hate him for existing. So I was helping him, being a friend, showing him pictures, telling him about the family. And falling in love with him. Ned made it a statement, not a question. The silence confirmed it. Today was supposed to be our goodbye, Derek said, finding his voice again. Jennifer told me she couldn't do this anymore, that she loved Marcus, that this had to end. We were going to split the withdrawal. It was my money originally, from a settlement. I'd asked her to hold it in Marcus's account because I didn't have a permanent address. We were just trying to. To do what? Sneak around behind my son's back, lie about business trips. How many times has Seattle been code for meeting him? Jennifer's sob told him everything. Ned's phone buzzed. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. For a moment, Ned considered not answering, but he'd never been a coward. Hey Dad, have you heard from Jenny? She was supposed to call me from Seattle this morning, and I haven't. Marcus, Ned's voice stopped his son mid-sentence. I need you to leave work right now and meet me at First National Bank downtown. Don't ask questions, just come. Dad, what's now, son? He hung up and looked at the 3 faces staring at him. Sandra had wisely retreated, closing the door to give them privacy. You've got about 15 minutes, Ned said, sitting down heavily in a chair. 15 minutes to figure out what you're going to say to my boy when he walks through that door. And it better be the truth, the whole truth, because I'll be damned if I let either of you lie to him again. Derek spoke first. I never meant to hurt anyone. I just wanted to know where I came from, who I came from. You're not the villain here, Ned said, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. You're just a kid who got dealt a bad hand. But Jennifer, he turned to his daughter-in-law, you took vows, you made promises, and even if nothing physical happened between you two, you gave him pieces of your heart that belonged to my son. I know, she whispered, I know. The question is, do you love Marcus? Yes, God, yes. This thing with Derek, it was like like he needed me in a way Marcus never did. Marcus is strong, confident, secure. Derek was broken, and I thought I could fix him, and somewhere in the fixing. You fell, Ned finished. He understood. His second wife had fallen for Moonbeam the same way, drawn to vulnerability dressed up as sensitivity. But you can't keep both. You can't keep meeting another man in secret and expect your marriage to survive. The door opened, and Marcus stood there, his face confused, then shocked as he took in the scene. His wife, his father, and a stranger who looked disturbingly like him. What the hell is going on? Ned stood and put a hand on his son's shoulder. Sit down, boy, we've got a lot to talk about. The next 2 hours were the hardest of Ned's life, and that included watching men die on foreign soil, watching his son's face crumble as Jennifer confessed, seeing Marcus study Derek, recognizing the family resemblance, dealing with the shock of learning he had a brother, witnessing the rage, the hurt, the betrayal. But through it all, Ned kept his hand on his son's shoulder, steady and sure, because that's what fathers do. That's what grandfathers do when they've lived long enough to know that life doesn't come with easy answers or clean endings. By the time they left the bank, nothing was resolved. Marcus and Jennifer had a lot to work through, and there were no guarantees. Derek had a family to figure out how to be part of, if Marcus even wanted that. And Ned had another son, apparently, and decades of questions that might never have answers. But as he drove home in his old F-150, grease still under his fingernails, Ned thought about the Mustang waiting in his garage. Sometimes things were broken so badly you weren't sure they could be fixed. Sometimes the rust went deeper than you thought. But sometimes, if you were patient and careful and willing to put in the work, you could restore something beautiful. He just hoped his family had the same potential.